This is Witchbase News for Friday the 21st of March 2025. I'm Commander Burr. In Elite Dangerous news this week, a Distant Worlds 3 Colonisation initiative is announced, Brewers Trailblazer megaships are deployed, the server tick gets delayed as the bubble rapidly expands, there's community confusion around how the colonisation economy works, and more. If you enjoy our videos, consider subscribing to the channel and remember to ping the little bell to make sure you see all our content and community posts. And if you'd like to help support our channel, links to our Patreon and everything else are in the description below. The organisers of the Distant Worlds 3 expedition, which is scheduled to depart early next year, announced this week that they will be hosting their first ever pre-expedition event, and they're utilising the Trailblazers colonisation feature of Elite Dangerous to do it. Their plan is to construct a colony site in deep space that will act as a departure point for the expedition. They'll achieve this by constructing a chain of outpost installations from currently occupied space all the way to the Orion molecular complex, which is a collection of nebulae that includes Barnard's Loop down near what is generally recognised to be the permit locked region of space occupied by the Thargoids. This initiative will begin on Sunday the 30th of March at 1300 UTC and will run initially for a month before being re-evaluated to see what else is necessary, if anything, thereafter. You can sign up for the venture, which is entitled The Shoulder of Orion, via the forum post linked in the description below this video. This week marks the start of the 4th week since the Trailblazers update introducing the beta of system colonisation to the Elite Dangerous Galaxy landed in the game. Following the reactivation of the colonisation process itself, which happened as we were going to press last week, the bubble has resumed its previous blistering rate of expansion. Although the word bubble now feels like a complete misnomer. In the space of around 3 short weeks it has gone from being a roughly spherical shape centred around Sol and the planet Earth to a sort of 1,000 light year spanning, constantly growing maniacal octopus like structure. Whilst what was the bubble is generally expanding outward, it's also important to remember that it's getting more dense, with thousands of systems being colonised inside what was its original sphere. But beyond that there are threads developing as players and player groups make a beeline for nearby, in galactic terms, points of interest. One colonisation thread has already reached way beyond the other side of the Pleiades Nebula, the traditional local stomping ground for our difficult Thargoid neighbours. From what little we know of the Thargoids, they do seem highly territorial, so our arrival in what was their uncontested turf is a move that they are almost certain to find highly amusing. That thread alone is now over 430 light years from Sol as at the time of recording, but another thread can be seen on the galaxy map heading galactic north towards Sagittarius A. The tip of those threads, with Sol in the middle, are now well over 900 light years apart. Likewise, an arm of galactic colonisation is heading galactic east and is now on the borders of the Muska Dark region and the Coalsack Nebula, over 450 light years from Earth. The update itself received a patch this week in the form of Trailblazers Update 2, the patch notes for which you can find linked in the description below. There's a number of bug fixes and new additions listed in there, and the notes also acknowledge some known issues that are continuing to be worked on, with a note at the end reminding commanders to submit any bugs they encounter to the issue tracker, which is itself linked at the bottom of the notes. The Brewer Corporation's Trailblazer support megaships, which were the subject of a recent community goal, were also deployed with Update 2 this week. 6 in total have been outfitted, with each one stocking differing flavours of commodities to aid in the construction of the galaxy's rapidly expanding list of starports, outposts and installations. You can see the locations of the ship's deployment shown on screen now. One has to assume that, knowing the ferocity with which the Elite Dangerous community pursue just about any goal in their favoured space game, and the largely abundant nature of required commodities, Frontier had anticipated the level of expansion the community would achieve, but I have to admit that here at least it has surprised us somewhat. The density and the rapidity of the expansion has not gone completely smoothly, however, as it appears to have caught some of the background simulation systems, and in particular the weekly server tick, off guard. During the weekly planned downtime for server maintenance, newly built stations are brought online, BGS and power play states updated, and chess pieces in general moved around. Such is the density now of starports and faction shenanigans that the server downtime has had to be significantly increased to compensate for it, but this week it was taking so long to process that FDEV decided to cut the maintenance mid-cycle and bring the game back online prematurely. The end result of this is that a good number of newly completed starports did not commission as expected, with Frontier reporting that they will activate in the next week's server cycle instead. The obvious question this raises is, of course, around the fact that next week there will be even more new stations to process, and that this will presumably have the same knock-on effect again, extending the downtime. To that precise point being raised on the forums, FDEV's senior community manager Paul Crowther answered, saying that the company was, as you'd perhaps expect, investigating a workable solution so that extended downtimes would not continue to be an issue. We are hearing multiple reports that, certainly in places, the BGS system itself is not behaving as expected. The background simulation has always been a complex, tangled and nuanced beast, but having suddenly grown to multiple times its original size in a matter of just a few days, it does feel like it's perhaps starting to creak and groan somewhat under its own weight as FDEV attempts to contain the server requirements the aforementioned beast must be demanding of them. There is also a rumbling of discontent in the community around how the establishment of colonisation economies has been implemented in Trailblazers, as commanders continue to wrestle with their understanding of what is perhaps a somewhat more complex system than many had first imagined. The understandable problem the community is suffering right now is being somewhat exacerbated by the available in-game information on how to construct a functioning economy in a newly established colony being spread across 3 or more different places. With at least 2 help pages accessed through different routes, the in-cockpit pilot's handbook offering its own multi-page resource, and then the construction interface itself offering up more nuanced information on the effects a facility or starport etc. is likely to have if placed. And it's the words "if placed" that are the key part of the issue here. When building an economy in a system, system architects can't currently be sure how the placement or construction of a facility is going to affect the economy. As a result, many are asking, quite understandably, for a colonisation undo button, allowing for the recycling and repurposing of already built facilities when they don't achieve the results they were expecting. I have to say, as attractive as that option at first sight is, I can imagine it being somewhat of a nightmare when it comes to calculating the already struggling BGS movements, as just one example. The sudden removal of an established facility, albeit a new one, would, I suspect, introduce altogether too many more ripples into a pond already full of expanding ripples that themselves have to also be accounted for. It strikes me personally that what is missing currently is the ability to reliably plan out facility placement, gaining a clear view of the economic consequences of building those facilities before you commit what are no small amount of time and resources to the building. The system map architect's view is, in fact, perfectly placed to offer this facility, but currently it doesn't. As is so often the case with Elite Dangerous, I think it more likely that a community created tool will fill the shortfall. As has been seen over the years with ships, suits, weapons and engineering, I have to wonder if a community created system economy planning tool isn't about to surface to fix the problem. Whilst it doesn't necessarily make it right, it is generally how such a requirement for Elite Dangerous tends to play out. And just one reminder before we let you go this week, the next Frontier Unlocked livestream is currently scheduled for Wednesday next week. Whilst we have no specific details yet, it's widely expected that we'll likely learn more about the Gutermeyer Corsair medium class vessel that is arriving into the game in April. Will you be watching Frontier Unlocked next week? Are you planning to help build the Shoulder of Orion? And how are you planning and building your own system economy? Let us know in the comments below. That's it for now. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back later this week with more videos. Until then, 07 Commanders, follow the greens on the way out and do keep clear of the toast rack. We very much look forward to seeing you next time.